Oh, I got something special for you boys. Welcome back. Welcome back. Welcome back to another exciting episode of the Bush League Huddle Fantasy Football Podcast. I'm your host, Fab. I'm joined with Raj. I'm joined with Nacc. We are back. We are back. We are back to recap and go over the week 9 slate of games. Ladies and gentlemen, we're going to break down our winners, our losers, get you up to date with very important injury updates, highlight the top waiver wire fab targets, and even suggest some sneaky trade targets as well. Bye weeks are in full swing, and we want to remind our very loyal listeners, that's you guys, that strategy in this season long game is important. You got to start thinking a few weeks ahead. But before we get into the fun stuff, please, please, please like, follow, share, subscribe to all of our social media, Instagram, TikTok, and Twitter accounts. Please download and listen to the pod on Spotify, YouTube, Apple Podcast. We post daily, everyone. The content is good. I promise. It's fire. You got to get out there and take a look at
It's
what we have.
great.
It's
It's
very good.
great.
It's very good. As Trump would say, it's the best. It's the best ever.
It's bigly.
It's bigly. But I do have a serious question to ask before we begin. Have you guys ever wondered where the player projections come from? Well, you don't have to anymore. Introducing League Champ, the easy to use tool that enables users to turn their player takes into rankings and projections. With in depth analytics, injury analysis, weekly floor and ceiling ranks, you'll never miss a beat this fantasy season. Download League Champ today on the App Store or Google Play. Also, check out their podcast available on Apple Podcasts and Spotify. And with that being said, guys, let's jump into week 9 winners. Let's break them down and see exactly who we have. Rod, we're gonna kick it off with you because you got that spicy jersey on right now. You got Vince Carter. Put your hand in the rim. Let's go. Who's your winner
That's
for week
swag
9?
on him. Look at him. You
I
It's
know
said,
actually it's
spicy.
I wish it was Vince Carter. It's actually Terrence Ross. But my
boo.
old
Right.
boss used to say you don't let the details get in the way of a good story. So
There it
as we
is.
get right into it, one my first winners actually is the Dolphins running backs and tight ends with Tua. So Devon Achan receiving stats in Tua's 3 full games this season: 7 for 76, 6 for 50 and a touchdown, 8 for 58 and 1 touchdown. So that's a really impressive 17 PPR points per game in fantasy, equivalent to WR10 levels, without even
Ridiculous.
accounting for his rushing yards. When you add his rushing production, he's at 27.8 fantasy points per game. That is
Yeah, that's wild.
absolutely nuts.
Wild.
And you
Yeah.
add in, so factor in Jonnu Smith at tight end. Last 2 games, 12 targets, 9 catches. He had a pretty good game last game. And then Ryan Heath from Fantasy Sports Data, who we all really like. We really like his content and his analytics. The position target shares with Tua so far this year, running back and tight end target shares are at 54%. Wide receiver shares are at 46. Those numbers, if you look at the entire season, it's at 63% running back and tight end share and 37% overall for wide receivers. Tua last year, it was basically the
The
reverse. So
opposite.
Yeah.
he was throwing to his wide receivers at a 68% clip. So I think that has a clear impact on the wide receivers. Right now, Tyreek Hill is at WR26 on the season. Jalen Waddle is at WR60. And I think
Woof.
for me, what's driving this, first of all, Tua has his lowest time to throw ever in his 5 years as a pro. And he also has his highest sack rate in 5 years. So I think those are causing the shifts. The offense line is an issue. I think Tua is also weary of getting hit. So he's likely to go to his secondary read or first easy reads at running back and tight end first. So for me, HN is a clear hold, both dynasty and in season, and I think he's going to end up potentially easy as a running back 5 to 8 potentially this year.
Yeah. I was hesitant on drafting Achan this year.
Yeah,
And
me too.
I think we all were, yeah.
yeah, we all were, and like mea culpa. Like I put my hands up and I made that mistake big time. And he's been really good. And when Tua is in the lineup, you definitely see a stark contrast with that running game. But from that PPR perspective, those stats that you just read out over there, man, there's a lot
It's
of
nuts.
top end wide receivers that everyone drafted super high. They're not getting anywhere near that production right now. So that is those are jarring stats right now. Nacc, who's your winner for week 9?
I'm gonna go at some. I remember being laughed at on this pod for mentioning it as a dark horse in the NFC West, but I have the Arizona Cardinals as my winner of the week. Since starting 1-3, they've won 4 of their last 5 games and currently sit atop the NFC West and also have a 2-0 division record. So, are we ready to put some respect on their name? I think we should.
No.
No,
I know.
no.
Raj still can't, but put some respect on their name, Raj. So Kyler Murray, I know we had. I was a big advocate of his at the beginning of the year that he could push for QB 5 numbers. He's currently QB 10 on the season, so he's
Mhm.
not too far off, and he's got a really favorable matchup down the stretch. He gets Seattle twice. He gets the Vikings, the Patriots, Panthers, and Rams. So all teams that give up their fair share to two QBs. And you know what? He had a pretty brutal stretch from week 5 to week 10 uh, on opposing defenses, and he only put up really 2 duds last week. They ran a lot, so they didn't really need the QB. It was all rushing touchdowns, I believe. So he only scored just under 5 points, but he was over. He had 26 against San Francisco, 22 against the Chargers, 24 against Miami, who's the team that allows the fewest points to QBs. So he's done pretty good against really, really tough defenses. So I think his numbers in the second half of the year are going to probably hover around that 18 to 26 um, point numbers, basically. Then you have James Conor, who's running like a champion. He's currently RB 15 on the year and having a solid season. Only had 2 games in single digit fantasy points, and those were losses to Green Bay and Detroit, where the kind of the game script got away from them a little bit. And his remaining schedule is also favorable. So I don't know. I've been really impressed with Arizona the last few weeks, and I don't know, that NFC West is wide open, so I wouldn't count them out.
They're
I
stringing together wins when you wouldn't expect them to. Like, and despite the fact that, like, obviously Kyler Murray's been playing, he's had games where he's played lights out, and then he's games where he has struggled, like against Chicago, but they still won, right? And that's not a nothing type of win. That's a fairly fairly impressive win against what's supposed to be a very good defense. So, and they figured it out and they got it done. So from a team standpoint, it's great to see James Conner, the most unattractive running back two that you can think of, but at the same time, every single year, game in, game out, he gives you solid RB2 numbers.
Yep.
And it's not flashy. It's like lunch pill guy. He goes into work, he gets it done. You're always happy with what his production is, and you can't hate on that at all. Like, every single year, I was like, I don't want to draft James Conner, and every single year, it's like, I should have drafted him. I
He's
should have drafted
boring.
him.
He's
Yeah,
boring, like you said.
He's
He's
very
a
boring,
boring.
and
He's
he's
very
look. He
boring.
also does get hurt, so
Yeah.
you always lose him for a few games in a year. So it's you try to stay away from those players. But this year he's looked really good, and RB 15. That those are borderline RB1 numbers. So
I think some credit needs to be given to the defense on this team, and I thought their defense was going to be really bad. And I think they're middle of the pack in yards per play allowed in the last 3 games. But this was a really, really bad defense last year, and even somewhat early on in the season. I think it's interesting that Jonathan Gannon and Shane Steichen, they were the 2 coordinators that were on the Philadelphia Eagles Super Bowl team. Steichen was seen as the sexier pick, obviously because he was the offensive coordinator. Gannon had the weird, like, initial offseason press conference, but I feel like the team is really galvanized with him. And I know Kyler Murray loves it. Like, I've listened to like press conferences and whatnot, and I think Kyler Murray really likes him. So I think they're taking on his identity right now, and I see Shane Steichen's stock going a little bit down. So I just thought it was interesting, those two coming from the Eagles organization.
yeah, 100%. No, it's great to see them getting involved. My winner for the week is Philly. Philly and Hurts. They're impressive right now, and this pains me
cooking.
to say it, but on this podcast, you got to be impartial. The NFC East winner, I think, is completely wide open, but I'm going to jump into that for a second. So, despite my loyalty to the Big Blue, obviously I have to remain impartial on this podcast and give teams props where they deserve it. So, Philly fans, y'all got an exciting team right now. Philly are on a 4-game winning streak. Whatever adjustment they did in their bye week, it worked. Hurts has been super impressive. He's been QB1 since the bye, 4 straight games of at least 23 fantasy points, 4 straight games of multiple TDs, passing and rushing. And he's really shown to be elite right now, which is might not be what everyone pegged him to be performing at this level. AJ Brown, when he's playing, he's the alpha. 18 receptions, 325 yards, 2 touchdowns in 3.5 games. He did leave last game with a leg injury. With an injury, excuse me, but we're going to get into that in the next section. Saquon Barkley. What else is there to say? 490 yards rushing in the 4 games since the bye. Second only to Derrick Henry. 3 total TDs and a reverse hurdle too, which I did not have on my bingo card.
That was insane.
That was insane. It's like, I don't know. Like I will always be a Barkley fan. I will never be one of those Giants fans that burns his jersey. He's a pro through and through.
I still can't believe they chose him. They chose.
Moving on to the next point that I have on my winner. Thanks, Nacc. Devontae Smith as well, a bit more up and down, but at least 15 points in 3 of his 4 games since the bye. His floor in those 3 games have been 60 receiving yards and 3 touchdowns. And Philly D, actually, defense and special team. We don't really shout out Philly. We don't really shout out defenses all that much, but 3 out of the 4 games with double-digit points. Defense 7 in that span. I've never had to rank a defense before. This sounds weird. Defense 7 in that span since the bye week, and they're 3rd in the league right now with 16 sacks. So on all levels, ever since the bye, whatever adjustments they did is working. Philly have been.
They played bad teams. That was the adjustment.
Still. You gotta give them their props, though. You gotta give them their props.
I agree. Browns, Giants, Bengals ascending, and then Jaguars. But I agree with you.
Oh, the Bengals D is atrocious.
Atrocious. Absolutely atrocious.
All the same, it's a great time to be an Eagles fan when the team is surging right now. They benefited from having a relatively soft schedule, so thank you for that, Roger. But the rest of the season is relatively favorable, and I think this production is sustainable, barring any injuries. It's clearly a 2-race horse right now between Philly and Washington in the NFC East, and they still have to play each other twice, which I think will be must-see TV for both real and fantasy football. So those were, I don't know. Like I have Hurts in one of my leagues, and I came very close to trading him away because I'm hurting a wide receiver, and I'm very happy that I didn't, because that production is fun.
He's been good.
Yeah.
Look, he's played bad teams, sure, but he's played really well against the bad teams, right? Like he didn't put up duds like, some might. So look, give them their flowers when it's due. And
100%. Yeah, that's kind of
right now on a fantasy related purpose. Hurts is, the whole team really is on fire.
Can we safely say that, of like those, like the second banana wide receivers like Smith, T. Higgins, Jalen Waddle, can we safely say Devontae Smith is the best of them? Because I always felt like those guys were grouped together.
At this point, I agree.
Yeah.
I'd have to agree. Well, Waddle and Devontae were drafted in the same class, no?
Yeah. We forget how good that guy is, man. Like he won a Heisman. Like it's nuts.
That catch
he's nuts.
On Sunday was unreal.
Yeah.
I think I'm pretty sure Hurts threw up a prayer and like just thinking, and like he made a hell of a grab.
Yeah, it's funny. Garrett Wilson had like the best catch of the week for like 4 hours or something. Like that was a spectacular catch by Devontae Smith. Spectacular catch.
Yeah.
And now we got to go into the losers of the week. Rod, we're going to start off with you again. Who are your losers for week 9?
It's a rough batch of losers, starting for me with 2nd and 3rd year head coaches Antonio Pierce and Matt Eberflus. Guys, you know what the Bears and Raiders have in common? They're both entered 20. They're both not good at football. Good, that's the one. They both entered 2024 with reasonably high expectations.
Fair.
They both hired mediocre offensive coordinators in the offseason because both head coaches were lame duck and no offense coordinator wanted to work with them. They both have fired nearly their entire staff, and they are still in the building, which to me makes no sense. And they're both defensive head coaches, and the defenses are not playing well lately. They both rank bottom 10 in yards per play over the last 2 weeks. So Vegas is second last, and Chicago is 20th. So, and they're both dealing with serious issues in the locker room, as we saw, whether it's with DJ Moore. I think Max Crosby is going to start getting fed up. And I
Oh,
saw
yeah.
a stat that I couldn't believe. It was nuts. Matt Eberflus is now 0-18 in road afternoon games. I think the last thing
Wow.
is, and you guys have known I've defended Caleb for a while, and I loved him in college, but he hasn't been playing well. I don't think his numbers are as bad as they suggest, but it's clear he's missing throws. He's not reading the
Coaching, man.
defenses
He's coaching.
properly. Coaching is not good. The OC is not good, but I'm really tired of making excuses for him. And Rich Herbar on Twitter posted a really interesting tweet. Highest inaccuracy target rates for players with 25 plus targets this season. Number 6, Roma Dunze. Number 8, Keenan Allen. Number 10, DJ Moore. That is as telling as there is that he is missing clear targets. So for me, Bears, Raiders, clear losers this week. And I think they both have lame duck head coaches that I'd be shocked if they were not out of a job by season's end.
Did you guys see? So there's two videos that I want to bring up about DJ Moore. Actually, did you guys see the play where I think it was a broken play and
Yes.
Caleb was scrambling and DJ Moore just walked off the field? Did
He
you
went
guys
out
see
of
that?
bounds. He went out of bounds, and he was hurt. He stepped out of bounds, so he couldn't touch the ball.
Is that what happened?
Yeah.
Because it seemed as if he just
No. He went out of bounds. He knew he did, and then he actually, if you slowed, I watched it. I watched it on McAfee because they were talking about that today,
Yeah.
and he went out of bounds, and you saw his leg, like he hurt himself. He knew he stepped out of bounds, and that's why he stayed on the sidelines.
But
Either way, I don't think it's a great look.
No.
Just because like you could
No.
still kind of decoy your way
Because I
if
think
the defender
Hunter
didn't
Henry
see you.
did
But
that as well. Like in the last play of the Patriots game where Drake May threw that touchdown for the tying touchdown, and he stepped out of bounds in the end of the end zone, and he ruled himself out. Like he was like, "Don't throw it to me,
Yeah,
don't
that's
throw
one
it to me,"
thing,
or whatever,
yeah.
right? So
yeah,
there's
I get.
not to. But the reason why I bring it up with DJ Moore too is that I think he was even on, like, they called him for on a radio show.
Yes.
Max Markham NFL statistics or something like that. I don't know. They asked him point blank, "Has Matt Eberflus lost a football team?" And DJ Moore said, "I won't say no."
No, apparently they said, I want to say no.
Okay.
People were correcting him where they were saying, I want to, where he said, I want to say no. But I think to your point, Fab, the body language on Moore all year has been off.
Yeah.
Like, I don't think him and Caleb, I don't think it's working right now.
No, I don't think so.
I heard an interesting stat today as well, is that they've him and Cole Kmet have comported themselves professionally, but everyone seems to think that you could tell that, exactly like you said, they're just off. But I also saw like they're running Keenan Allen vertical. They're keeping DJ Moore close to the line of scrimmage. Like they completely
opposite.
have no idea how to run an offense with
Yeah.
the skill
It's
players
wild.
that they have, and that's what's causing a riff as well, right?
And
There's
Nacc,
even
go
there's
ahead.
even that Chicago player, whatever his name was, that they benched. He heard that he was being benched and left practice or something. Like he's
Yeah.
Yes, the
completely
cornerback.
lost the locker
Yes.
room.
Yeah.
He's completely lost the locker room.
What's funny is that Luke Getsy was the offense coordinator last year. And that's the coordinator that just got fired by the Raiders.
Yep.
Just tells you all you need to know about both these teams. Utter
Yeah,
disaster.
I don't even want to speak
Complete
about the
mess.
Raiders anymore, in my opinion. I don't even know how Antonio Pierce is still there. But
If I could just give one more,
yes.
I think we need to mention it. One more honorable mention very quickly. The Colts. To me, the Anthony Richardson benching is absolutely pointless if Flacco is going to play the way he is playing. It makes no sense to bench Anthony Richardson. I'm sorry. I'll just say that.
Well, if you're a Josh Downs owner, I would carefully disagree. But apart from that, yeah, I get what you're saying.
Yeah, but he's still completing. He's completing what, 20% more of his passes. Like
he was a standing duck yesterday, man.
Yesterday was terrible, but
it was terrible.
But his offensive line played atrocious yesterday. It was very, very bad.
I mean,
it was very.
Do you think it would have been any better if AR was playing instead of Flacco last night?
No.
But, so
exactly.
The problem is, I think there's expectation on this team. The expectations on this team are ridiculous. Like McAfee's saying that they're a Super Bowl, like a few plays away from being a Super Bowl contender. Like
that's not just because he's a Colts. He's a Colts guy.
Yeah,
he's not talking for real.
Just in general, but I think just in general, like this team is not ready at all. So it's
no.
If Flacco's gonna at least raise the bar of everyone, including Jonathan Taylor, who I've seen that he gets more stacked boxes when Flacco is on the field than Anthony Richardson. He's gonna have a tough time too. We forget about Jonathan Taylor. So, but if that's what they're gonna get out of Flacco, man, it's worthless.
That's an interesting take and statistic that Taylor would see more sack boxes with Flacco there as opposed to AR. But I guess that kind of makes sense since they
It's
have to
normal.
account for
Yeah,
AR bombing at 50 yards down, I
exactly.
suppose. But we're going to move on from the Raiders and the Bears. So sorry, everyone, if you're really enjoying this conversation. But we got to move on to something even more exciting. Nacc, who's your loser this week?
How about them Cowboys? Oh man, I really don't know. I honestly don't know what I like more, the Steelers winning or the Cowboys crashing and burning. It's just I love to see it, especially since everyone called it except for Jerry Jones this year that these Cowboys were not going to be good. And honestly, for the most expensive franchise in sports, valued at $10 billion, the level how the team's being managed and performing is just simply unacceptable. Um, and look, it really was the beginning of the end. And when they brought back Zeke, like you brought back Zeke when he was completely finished and thought that was going to be your savior at running back, and now he might be cut uh, when he faced disciplinary action yesterday. Apparently, he's missed like multiple meetings, and they finally kind of it was like the last straw. He's missed like 2-3 meetings, and it was the last straw for that. But the team is heading into serious free fall and with no end in sight, and the 29-year and counting drought of the Super Bowl appearance is looking like it's going to continue. So you have Dak Prescott, who's gone over 20 fantasy points just twice in 8 games. He's had 4 games where he's thrown at least 2 interceptions, and he's currently QB 19 behind Daniel Jones. He's been awful this year. I think Raj can attest to that. He's just not been very good at all.
He looks shot. Like his arm
Yeah.
strength looks completely shot, and moving around the pocket, he looks like a turtle.
Yeah, and he was also, I don't know if you guys, I'm sure you guys
Yeah.
saw it, but he was caught on camera muttering, "We effing suck." That's
I
definitely
can't
not a
believe
Yeah.
good
that. I
look.
can't.
Not a good
Oh
look. I
man.
don't think Jerry is going to appreciate that too much, but you signed him, so you're kind of stuck with him. You have CD Lamb, who's wide receiver 4 on the season, so I'm not going to go. He's been one of the few bright spots fantasy wise on the team, but I mean, apart from that 40 burger in week 8, Lamb has not been putting up his usual numbers and only topped 100 yard and has only topped 100 yards. Has not, excuse me, topped 100 yards all season long, which is completely shocking. And he generally looks unmotivated at times. Like I don't know if you guys noticed that too. He just doesn't look like the same player motivated as of late. And then you have Rico Dowdle, who's their running back 1, or that's what they tabbed him to be, and he's currently running back 31, so nothing very very flashy. Has not cracked 100 yards in a game as well himself. Scrimmage yards, yes, but not rushing. He has been finding the end zone of late, which is saving really his fantasy outputs as of late. So really not looking good for the Cowboys, and I don't think it gets better as the season goes on.
So we know that Dak Prescott. We're obviously going to touch on the injury in a second there, but Dak Prescott got hurt. He's going to miss multiple games. We don't know exactly how many, but I think IR is being floated around. Dan Orlovsky was on ESPN today, and he mentioned he's like, "Do you expect the offense to be better with Cooper Rush than it is with Dak Prescott?" The answer is no. So, do you seriously look at potentially blowing up the team and look for assets for next year?
But who are you going to trade?
Well,
Like
listen, you trade
who
the
who
guys
you
you're under contract, like your Micah Parsons of the world.
No.
They're not trading Micah
No,
Parsons.
he's
That would
gone.
be a huge mistake.
But
Foundation
where
But
builder.
where is
they
this
don't
team?
have anyone to trade.
Where is this team going though? Like they lack depth at all levels, and apart from Dak and CD, because do they even have enough cap space to sign Micah Parsons next year?
Likely not. They're going to
Exactly.
have
So
to do some
then,
serious adjusting.
so it's a long look in the mirror that they have to ask themselves. Like they're not going to make the playoffs. They're not going to win the division, especially now with Dak being out for 4 weeks. Let's just say, or even 3. It's a legit like you're at the tipping point right now. I think.
I
You're
think
you're you're 100% right on. Sorry, Raj, I didn't mean to cut you off there. You're 100%. They should be sellers, but there's just no one to sell right now where you're going to get the value you're looking for moving forward.
Yeah, I get what you're saying.
I think the coaching is very bad on this team, and I was actually able to key in on this game, the Cowboys Falcons game specifically yesterday, and there was that Darnell Mooney touchdown where Trayvon Diggs wasn't even lined up correctly, and in my head I was thinking like, call a timeout. Can someone like it's the first half, you have 3 timeouts, call a timeout, realign yourself, and they didn't call timeout. He just got absolutely burned, and I think Mike McCarthy. I think we're like I agree with you guys, especially you Fab, because you're saying like the roster is, maybe just not up to being able to be a top team in the NFC. But I think we're underestimating the impact that coaching could have, because I don't think Mike McCarthy is making the most use out of CeeDee Lamb. They keep CeeDee Lamb in one area. He always plays one side of the field. They don't move him around. They don't use any motion. They don't make the offense easy for any of their skill players. It's all beat the man in front of you, and Dak try to hit an open receipt or try to hit like a tight window. And he doesn't have the arm strength for that anymore. He just doesn't.
Yeah.
So.
No, all very good points. All very good points. Anyways, I'm not a Cowboys fan, so this doesn't really bother me at all. We're gonna keep on moving with with my loser of the week. And to quote the great Dennis Green, they were who we thought we were, and we let them off the hook. We're talking about Derek Carr and the Saints. So let me just paint a picture for you guys quickly. You start the season 2-0 and then lose 7 straight. You come back from IR and lose to arguably the worst team in the league. You put your top wide receiver in a very dangerous area, and you get him hurt with I don't want to say an errant throw, but a pretty bad throw, something that I know Tom Brady spoke about at length when he was on one of those panels. You get chewed out online by your former wide receiver teammate, Michael Thomas, for said throw, and in my opinion, rightfully so. And then you get your head coach fired Monday morning, Dennis Allen, who again was also the head coach with the Raiders, that he also got fired when he was the quarterback at that time in Oakland. So, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the last 24 hours of Derek Carr's life. Like, not great at all. Carr himself hasn't scored more than 16 points since week 2. And apart from Kamara, there really isn't anyone you want on this team at all. I have a question for you guys, though. Who had the more viral moment this week? Jason Kelce or Michael Thomas?
Jason Kelce for sure.
Jason Kelce for sure.
I would go Thomas and Thomas and Olave's brother combined. To me, that wins the deal there.
Did
you see Olave's brother?
Yeah, what he's he's still gonna play or whatever it is, like something.
Yeah. He's just like trashing Carr as well. Like,
I don't know why they went to get Carr. Like, why? What was the like? It didn't fit there. I found it was a weird fit.
I think they felt they still had a win now roster, which was not the case. And remember, Seth called all of this. Like when he was on our show, he
did. Because they're too old. Like the defense is the oldest in the league, number one.
Yeah.
But talk about I know you mentioned again another Raiders coach. Talk about like different types of coaching trees. When you have like the McVays, the Shanahans, and like out of the coaching trees that go, and then you have this one that just pollutes NFL teams. It's ridiculous. It's wild, man. It's wild, and people don't learn their lesson, which is another thing.
No, and you kind of feel for Dennis Allen, who got screwed by Derek Carr again for the second time. But real talk for a moment, though. This marks the 3rd concussion for Olave in 2024, his 5th since 2022, his 6th documented, because he also had one with Ohio State in 2020. To be honest, he's the biggest loser here, and none of this is his doing. So I kind of feel for Olave, and because wasn't he air transported out to a hospital? Like it was serious.
I did not know that.
This weekend?
Yeah.
He was transported to the hospital.
Like that is nothing to laugh about at all. So hopefully he makes
he was unconscious recovery on the field for a bit.
Yeah. No, it's the hit was very very scary. Tough to watch. You just hope he makes a full recovery, and then you feel for the guy. You really do, because throws like that can put your wide receivers in a very, very dangerous scenario. But anyways, so those are our winners and losers of the week. So thank you very much, ladies and gentlemen. We're going to move on to the injuries of week 9. A little bit longer than I would like to have been, but that's okay. Drake London, hip pointer. He got injured on his TD grab and left the game. Not considered serious, considered day-to-day. He might miss week 10, but stay tuned for that. AJ Brown, knee injury. He also exited the game. He exited in 3rd quarter and was ruled out. Seems to have avoided a serious injury as well. Dak Prescott, as we mentioned, hamstring injury. He was ruled out as of the 3rd quarter. He also appeared to be dealing with a hand injury. I don't know if you guys saw how massive his hand was, the swelling. They're not really talking about that, which I find interesting. But
I
we
thought it was a
expect him.
hand injury when it first happened.
So did I. And then they mentioned hamstring. I'm like, that's not what I expected. He is expected to miss multiple weeks, which, like we mentioned before, obviously puts the entire Dallas Cowboys season at a huge risk. CeeDee Lamb's shoulder injury, it's confirmed to be an AC joint sprain. He was scheduled for an MRI. From what I understand, I think they expect him to play in week 10.
Yeah, day to day, I think.
Yeah. Chris Olave, concussion, like we just mentioned. I expect him to go on IR. He'll most likely come back and play this
I
year.
hope they don't play him the rest of the year.
So do I, but these guys are football players are a different breed, man. They want to play, and I get it, So that's what I was referring to before when Roger mentioned his brother's tweet, because his brother had mentioned like nothing's going to keep him off the field in one of his tweets. So, anyways, prayers up, hope for the best. CMC practicing for the first time since his injury. He's expected to make his return to the football field this week in week 10.
Fantasy managers rejoice.
Big time, big time, big time.
And knocking on wood.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Keon Coleman, potential wrist fracture. This one propped up for me. I wasn't expecting. I wasn't seeing this at all in the news, and then it popped up on my timeline. TBD. I don't think they know the severity of it right now, but something to keep an eye on if you're a Keon Coleman owner right now. That wide receiver room is a little bit injured, a little bit banged up.
Was that on the Poyer hit where you like nailed him in the head? Maybe his hands were up.
Yes, I did. I did read about it. It happened when his wrist came into contact with the helmet. So I guess it was that.
So that was probably on the Poyer hit.
And Caleb Williams, ankle injury apparently, he played through, but something to monitor going forward as well. I think that covers it for injuries. We do want to provide our listeners with a public service announcement for the Week 10 buys. Guys, a lot of buys on Week 10. We got the Browns, the Packers, the Raiders, and the Seahawks. So we're going to jump into some fab and waiver wire takes right now, which could help you fill in those bye-week woes. Specifically, we're going to jump first into QBs. Obviously, with the Dak injury, we have to have a discussion about Cooper Rush. And there's also Mason Rudolph as well, who also just put up back-to-back games of 20-plus fantasy points. So, Roger, are there any of those guys that you're interested in? Obviously, Cooper Rush, he does have a bit of a history when it comes to playing with CD and all that, right? So, what's your take on that? Is there anyone that you really like?
Yeah, so I'm a Dak owner in Bush League, and I don't have a choice but to put some fab on Cooper Rush. I don't know if I want to say how much. I don't think anyone's chopping at the bit to pick up Cooper Rush either. But look, when you replace Dak for 5 starts in 2022, he had an 80 quarterback rating, 6.5 yards per attempt, 5 TDs, and 5 starts. So, like, if you don't have Dak, there's no need to really go after him. There's also the potential of Trey Lance maybe coming in. I think they've announced Rush, and I think he has some familiarity with the offense. But if you're a Dak owner, I would definitely go with Rush. I'd forget about Mason Rudolph. It has to be Rush for at least to tide you over, unless you have better options on your bench.
Mason Rudolph has been surprisingly effective. I know it's only been 2 games; it's a very small sample size, but he's been doing a lot better in that offense from a QB perspective than I expected him to. I know Nacc, you had
you're right.
touched on Will Levis. Apparently, he's going to take over the reins when Will Levis comes back in week 10. But I mean, I don't know. Like, I think the conversation about potentially having Mason Rudolph be the starter going forward has to happen. Obviously, don't make a move until you know for sure. But he's had a decent showing in the last 2 games, Nacc.
Mason Rudolph was on my fantasy winning roster last year and played in the finals for me.
So chalk that up to the things I don't care about on this podcast.
No, but I think Will Levis. Well, first of all, Will Levis, they're still slating him as the starter, and he's slated to potentially come back this year. So this week, excuse me. So I mean, Mason Rudolph. Like again, it's going to be a stopgap player. Just monitor it as the week goes through. Like I wouldn't break the bank for Mason Rudolph. Like if he's available, grab him if you really need a QB. But again, if Levis plays, then don't go spending 10 or 20% fab for a guy who's might play one more game.
Yeah, for sure. No, that's a very good point. What about Trey Benson? We know that James Conor has been steady Eddie his entire career with the Arizona Cardinals, but right now with that rookie Trey Benson there, who Did get his first touchdown this week, 16% owned. If you're a James Conner owner, or even if you're not a James Conner owner, are you looking to put him on your bench for a potential stash?
Yeah, it's a tough one. I know he saw 8 rushes, but he saw I think I saw 6 combined the previous 3 weeks and zero actually in week 7. So
Yeah.
it was just they were running all over the place. So I guess and they probably just wanted to give Connor a little bit of rest. I know he's had an explosive run in every game that he's had a rush in, so that's at least of a 10 plus yards. So I mean, yes, he did get into the end zone, but this is still Connor's backfield. If you're a Connor owner, I would 100% go grab him because he is getting involved. Um, and look, there's always that risk of injury with Connor, so you kind of
Yeah.
want that backup. But if you don't have Connor, I mean, I wouldn't go nuts because just like the production's just not there, the volume is not there. 8 touches was the most since week 4, where he saw 9. So yeah, I don't know. A few percent if you're not a Connor owner, and maybe 5 to 10% if you are, just to kind of solidify it. But it's going to be tough this week with a bunch of buys too, right? Yeah, and your bench kind of gets smaller. So
I
Yeah.
was thinking even for Dynasty Trey Benson, but I was looking up on Sport Track, and Connor has a $10 million cap hit next year. And with the way he's playing, like, why would you take that dead cap hit? Like, just bring him back. Like, he's been such a good player, and he's been such a good piece for that organization. So I would tend to agree with Nacc.
Yeah, I agree with you guys as well. We're going to jump into wide receivers now quickly. We have a few Carolina Panthers that are making some noise right now. Xavier Legette, 27% owned, back-to-back games of 4 targets and a touchdown. Jalen Coker, 3 targets, 2 receptions, 36 yards. I think everyone was expecting a little bit bigger of a game for him. All the same, though. Still something to monitor. And Nick Westbrook Ikine, 1% owned, 4 straight games with a TD, 3 straight games with 4 more targets. First game with 50 receiving yards, but he's playing all the snaps. Seems to be the new number 2 with DeAndre Hopkins gone. Raj, out of those 3, and bear in mind, if you choose Coker, you will turn into a cokehead. Out of those 3, is there any one of those wide receivers that
oh,
you're mostly interested in?
Very well done on the Nick Westbrook Akine fab.
Appreciate that. Thank you.
I'm not chasing Nick Westbrook Akine though. That's try to no, because we've done that already when he was in Philadelphia with Philadelphia. Coker can be had, I think, cheaper than Legette, even though Legette is more of the quote unquote house, like more name
Yeah.
brand because it was the higher draft pick. I like the fact that he's had back to back games with 4 targets plus a touchdown. He was injured in the previous game. I believe he came back. So I would tend to want to put a 5 to 10% of your fab on Legette because he will, in theory, be the main option. But I think Coker is worth rostering as well. I've rostered him,
Yeah.
and he was a really productive player in college. He's slated to play the slot position, and I think there's going to be some targets for him if and when I expect Adam Thielen to get traded at some point because there's no need for him to be on that team with the trade deadline coming. So I think Legette is worth a $5 to $10, and Coker is you could probably get him for free, and he's worth definitely they're both worth a stash in even deeper leagues for Dynasty as well.
yeah, maybe dynasty and stuff, but it's just hard to start in like 10 team leagues,
Yeah, for
like even
sure.
12 team leagues. Like they're just tough players to start in a bad offense, right? But I do agree with you. I do believe that between now and 4 p.m. tomorrow, Adam Thielen is in fact traded. So um, I would probably lean towards Legette myself. Like if I had to choose between one of them, like I'd go grab Legette.
See, I actually think Coker is the one. Just because I think he's going to slide into that Deontay Johnson role, and like if Adam Thielen is going to get traded, I think that's something to really consider. And I'm also like not. I would pick him up more in the event of it's more of a stash, right? Like this is someone that could turn into something exactly during the playoff time for the for your fantasy league, right? If I'm just looking at his schedule, he's playing the Giants next week. I don't know what to expect there. Then he goes on bye and he comes back versus Kansas City. So it's more like week 13 on when they go up against Tampa Bay, Philly, Dallas, Arizona, then Tampa Bay again. That could be interesting if you have the roster spot for him and you can pick it up for nothing. wouldn't hurt you. It would be interesting to see if that can turn into a lottery ticket, especially when the time is right that you make your fantasy playoffs. But we are going to keep on moving with tight ends, though. Mike Gesicki, 13% owned, 2 straight games of 5 or more receptions. He just came off a 2 TD, 100-yard game monster. Theo Johnson, 1% owned. Got to give some love to the Giants. Not a lot going around. At least 4 receptions in the last 2 games. He finally got a TD, which was a very nice grab, by the way. Tough to trust in that offense, but the Giants' schedule does get very favorable starting next week. And Jatavian Sanders, another Panther, 1% owned, 12.7 fantasy points this week, 4 catches, 87 yards. Nacc, out of those 3, is there anyone that you're really targeting if you're tight end needy, considering the buys this weekend?
Yeah, I'm staying away from Theo Johnson and Jatavian Sanders again. I don't like picking up players that had a good week in terrible offenses. It's not something that tends to continue on a consistent basis. And I feel like there's just better out there. Um, I'd go after Mike Gesicki more. They just lost their rookie tight end.
Yes.
I believe it was ACL for the
Yes.
year. So if I have to take one, their offense is clicking in Cincinnati. It's not the offense that's the issue; it's the defense. So if I definitely had to choose, I'd go after Gesicki if you're looking for tight end help this week.
Yeah, and Gesicki's been really taking advantage of the fact that T. Higgins is still injured. So it's something also to take a look at. Assuming that T. Higgins is still out this week, he would definitely be a pickup. And they're also playing the Ravens on Thursday night. So probably a good chance that T doesn't play that game since they're still on a shorter week. Yeah, no, I don't disagree with you, though. Sorry.
Best white gritty in the league, this guy, man. His gritty is amazing. Like, so good.
Did you see like Jamar Chase backed off? He's like, okay. He's like, okay, wipe away. Like that's enough.
Yeah. But he always calls Jamar. He always calls Jamar no,
yeah.
he's
He was
really
like,
good.
I think it's enough now. Yeah, I think
Cookout
we're good.
certified. Cookout certified. Mike
certified. We love that. Him and Drew Lock. We love that.
Yeah. Yes.
So that's our Fab and Waiver Wire for the week, everyone. Thank you very much. We're going to jump into a very exciting segment, trade candidates for the rest of the season. So guys, we're going to buy low on or sell high. Roger, we're going to kick it off with you. Who are you buying low on or selling high?
So we talked about him earlier. This is a buy low. It could be a buy low or a sell high. It depends on if, let's say, you have Devontae Smith, and if he's your WR3, I think that's really, really good value. And I think you could be able to sell him for a better piece because he's just never going to be the WR1. As good as he was the last few weeks, AJ Brown is still the guy there. And
100%.
I find the target share is just always going to go towards Brown, and the fact that Saquon Barkley is there too, and he catches a lot of passes. So, but someone like me who I am dealing with Cedric Tillman and JSN and Jameson Williams, I would love to have someone like Devontae Smith as my WR3 who I could trust on a week-to-week basis. So that's someone that I would be willing to try to acquire and maybe get give my, I don't know, like a J.K. Dobbins or even it's like some guys I put Tyrone Tracy, Tony Pollard. Those could be interesting guys. I'm curious to see what you guys think, but those could be interesting guys to say, hey, I have some running back depth and I need a WR3 and someone wants to sell off Devontae Smith because he had a really good. He's just hard to trust on a week-to-week basis, and the talent is there. I think on any other team, he would be an easy WR1, but he's very, very clearly nestled behind Brown and Goddard's out too. Goddard's been out for three straight weeks.
I like that logic. I do. The only thing that I have a little bit of that I want to take pause on was you mentioning trading Tyrone Tracy, and it's not because of my affinity for the Giants or anything like that. Giants schedule, and he's been lights out, Tracy. Giants schedule for the rest of the season from a running back perspective gets very nice. I think Tracy's actually going to potentially help people get to the playoffs and maybe even win some leagues toward the end of the season. He's been looking very, very good. I agree with your take 100% on Devontae Smith. I'm a little surprised that you would trade your boy J.K. Dobbins, though. Just saying.
Joey League winner.
He's been great. It's inconsistent, man. Like these guys,
He is inconsistent.
There's some inconsistent, and he doesn't catch passes. So
not as much as I thought he would be.
Yeah.
It's true. Mind you, the Chargers right now are rolling though. My goodness,
they are rolling. Yeah.
Okay,
It's gonna be hard to like buy low on Devonta Smith now with a little bit more of an injury concern with AJ Brown too. Could miss a game. Who knows? Maybe be harder to get him low, but I definitely agree with you. It's a guy I'd definitely love to have because, like you said, you're just not. There's no issues every week when you're like, okay, WR3.
Exactly.
Like
Yes.
there's no headaches. You set it and forget it type deal, and you're just like
My
whatever.
last 2 years in Bush League, that's the issue I've had is I have too many WR3s. So every week it's, do I go with like a JSN type? Do I go with a Jameson Williams type, a Cedric
Right.
Tillman? You always make the wrong decision.
Right.
Nacc, what about your candidate?
Well, I think we're a week too late on the buy low, especially after he had a great performance on Sunday, which is Rico Dowdle. Scored a bit, I believe it was 22 fantasy points. So last week would have been the best week to kind of get that trade, which I actually made a trade for Dowdle in Bush League. Gave away Nick Chubb and Waddle and got back Josh Downs and Dowdle. So look, it's a guy I would definitely love to get going forward. If you can grab him somewhere, if you're still able to buy low, maybe someone thinks that with Cooper Rush it's not going to be as great, but I think it complete opposite. They're going to really lean more on the run game with Dowdle, and he has looked good. So I think going after a guy like Dowdle would be a definite great move to solidify your running back spot.
I agree with you that it would be harder to be a buy low on him after his game that he popped off on. However, now the fact that Dak is going to be sitting for a little bit, you might be able to get him like right after this week as a potential buy low, depending on when your respective leagues have their trade deadline. Because I know a lot of fantasy leagues, they might line up their trade deadline with real NFL fantasy trade deadline. So just be aware for that. But I don't know. Do you think, realistically speaking, do you think defenses now are going to be stacking the boxes? Most likely, I would think, especially with Cooper Rush under center. So that could also affect his. So I think it's possible you get him as a buy low, and I think but I don't disagree. I think it's a great trade candidate, and it could be someone that can turn into a very nice flex play down the stretch with some weekly RB2 upside as well.
But he also had one thing to notice is the last 2 weeks he's played, he's had 6 targets and 5 catches. So I think the catches, in PPR leagues, the catches will probably go up. Maybe Rush will tend to dump off more. So 10 catches in the last 2 games for 60 yards and a touchdown. So that's what I'm really liking about him too. 12 for 75 rushing was very respectable numbers as well. So I like his catch upside as well. And now again with Rush maybe throwing him the ball a bit more, scrambling out. I just
It
like
could
the potential.
he could turn into an Alvin Kamara light in that offense, which would be very, very nice. So my guy, I will not divulge his name before we jump into this right now. I'm gonna set the scene for you guys if I will. So let me just see if you guys know who I'm talking about right now. In the last 4 weeks, this player is QB9 on the season. He's thrown 8 TDs, 5 in his last 2 games. He's averaged 20 points a game after averaging 15 points a game in the first 5 weeks. He hasn't thrown for under 200 yards since week 2. Multiple TD passes in 4 of his last 5 games versus very tough defenses. His schedule goes from being the most difficult to about the 12th easiest. The team that this player plays for has also added a shiny new toy for him, who after just 2 games, they seem to be getting back into their groove and their old ways. Before I reveal, considering everything I just said, is this a player, just painting that, is this a player that you guys would be looking to buy low on for the rest of the season, and especially in a 2 QB league?
Are we taking guesses yet or no? On who they are?
Take your guesses. Go ahead.
Does it rhyme with Baron Bodgers?
That's the best you can do for his name, dude. That's the yes. It is Aaron. It is Aaron Rodgers. Yes,
Coming out of the darkness.
We're
Aaron.
done with the Jets. Oh my god, you can't help yourself, Fab.
I waited till the end of the podcast. Well, give me some
It's
credit.
just like New York. Everything New York. He's got to talk about
Oh
New
my
York.
god.
Sorry if we don't get 7 Steelers plugs in every single episode. We're missing our quota. Jeez.
Oh boy.
This is just the Steelers, New York, and who else do we talk? We talk a lot about the Raiders.
We talk way too much about the Raiders.
Way too much. We talk about garbage teams in this.
No, but for real though, like I think it's pretty interesting the fact that in the last 4 weeks he has been playing very well. Their schedule has gotten a lot easier going forward. It would be someone to target, and especially in a 2 QB or super flex league. If
He's been playing well, is that what you just said? Aaron
yeah,
Rodgers?
he has been playing well. Yeah. If you look at his numbers, like in the last 4 games, his worst point projection was, or worst point output was against the Steelers. Yeah, no, I mean that for real, the Jets schedule does get a lot easier as well towards the end of the season. Could be very interesting and someone to keep on the radar. 2 QB leagues. I'm not saying he's going to be number 1 in your fantasy heart all the time, but we cannot discount the fact that he has been performing, and that's why I also wanted to put it. I don't want to reveal his name right away. I think it's important that we just talk about unbiased and stats right off the bat. I think this was a good exercise that I might have given away with too many of my hints over there. But seriously, it could be a buy low candidate if you need a QB2 or
toy.
I'll send you a trade, Fab. I'll send you a trade for him.
I might keep him. I'm gonna see how Baker Mayfield does right now. I might need him after. CJ Stroud has been putting up a few duds lately. Can't wait for Nico Collins.
I'll send you a trade for CJ Stroud.
That. I wonder.
Would you be willing to trade CJ Stroud?
No.
After he says he's playing like shit.
No. Nico Collins coming back, man. All he needs is Nico.
He has the best team. He's won already. That's what it is.
How can I
miss wasn't great this week?
Why would he trade anyone on
your
his
bench?
Team?
Is the best, man. Your bench is your bench is thin.
Like my bench is thin.
His bench is the best.
Your team
is better
is
than
thin.
your starting roster.
You have 2 defenses.
Well, just for now, Pittsburgh's on bye, dude.
Well, you're one of those. Eh? You keep 2 defenses.
Okay, we're gonna analyze my team right now, guys. Ladies and gentlemen, Roger, cue the music already.
Probably the best ever assembled.
No, you have to thank the listeners.
We're going to thank the listeners in a second. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much for listening to our podcast. Thank you for tuning in this episode. That'll do it for the Bush League Huddle Fantasy Football Podcast. As always, please rate, follow, and subscribe on all of our social medias and your podcast platform of choice. Look for our Fab and Waiver Wire pickups and all of our fun stuff on Instagram, TikTok, YouTube, as well as our Love Hate Week 10 episode, which is going to be recording tomorrow. Tune in for that as well. Thank you so much for listening and coming along for this ride. I'm Fab. That's Nacc. That's Raj. Peace out, everyone. Enjoy Monday Night Football.
You won.
I hate you so much. I hate you so much. I hate you so much.
Oh, man.
I need one more point from Baker Mayfield.
No, but just Fab, you have no depth. Like we should make some
trades. What are you talking about,
dude? You have no depth.
What?
Jonathan Brooks.
I'm sorry,
Juwan
I don't have
Jennings,
7 wide receiver 3s. Honestly,
Romeo Dobbs. You still have Romeo
Dobbs, Jonathan Brooks, Juwan Jennings. What?
Whatever happened to Dontavius Wicks? Where's he these days?
He's on the bench.
Nacc milks the one good call he has.
The one good call.
Oh yeah, only one good call. Only one good call. Okay, good buddy.
Remember when I said Arizona was going to be great?
I called CJ Stroud too. Don't forget that one. I keep the receipts.
Yeah, when it's convenient, you keep them. The other ones are thrown out.
Except for Zay Flowers.
The return window has passed.
Oh boy, did I get
killed. The return window has passed.
The return window has passed. Last 60 days.
Never. I keep the receipts. I'm like a 9-year-old grandmother. I keep all my receipts.
The outro finished 10 minutes ago. What are we still doing on the podcast? Thanks a lot, everyone. Have a good night. Take care.
Goodbye.
Peace.
Bye, guys.